Imagine someone in your life drains you every single day, and you never even realize it until today. What if I told you there's one simple thing you can do, and they'll never bother you again? You don't need fights, arguments, or long explanations. You just need one action, a move so subtle yet so powerful that it shuts them down forever. If you want more strategies to instantly neutralize toxic people, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I promise, these are the moves they cannot see coming. There's one action that, if taken decisively, completely changes the way toxic people interact with you. And it's not complicated, dramatic, or aggressive. It's simply the act of setting a clear, firm boundary and sticking to it without wavering. So, most people underestimate this because they think boundaries are just suggestions, something flexible you negotiate. Toxic people don't see them that way. They only respect limits when they are enforced consistently and confidently. The moment you draw a line and refuse to step back, you send a message that cannot be twisted or ignored. This single action works because toxic people thrive on access. They need your attention, your energy, your emotional reactions. If you stop giving it, you take away their power. The power of this one action isn't in the words you say, but in the consistency and firmness behind them. You don't explain, you don't justify, and you don't plead for respect. You simply act in a way that shows your limits are absolute. It can be as simple as saying, "I will not tolerate this behavior," or choosing not to respond when they attempt to provoke you. Each time you maintain that boundary, you reinforce it, not just to them, but to yourself. You stop teaching them that they can push, manipulate, or guilt you, and you start teaching them that their influence is no longer welcome. Most people avoid taking this step because they fear confrontation or rejection. They worry that saying no will ruin relationships or provoke backlash. But the truth is, toxic individuals are not interested in mutual respect. They are interested in control. By acting decisively, you remove yourself from the game entirely. You reclaim your energy, your peace, and your control over your life. One boundary, one firm action, and suddenly the person who once drained your energy no longer has access. The effect is immediate, shocking, and long-lasting. You've done it once, and that's all it takes. This is the single action that changes everything because it flips the dynamic. You are no longer reactive, you are no longer vulnerable, and you are no longer a target. From that moment on, your life moves forward on your terms, not theirs. Toxic people don't just appear in your life by accident. They only have power over you because you allow them access. Access doesn't always mean physical presence. It's emotional, mental, and even digital. Every time you answer their calls, reply to their messages, or respond to their provocations, you give them fuel. They feed on your attention, your reactions, and your energy. The truth is, toxic individuals are like psychological vampires. They aren't interested in connection, care, or friendship. They are interested in control. The more open and available you are, the more opportunities they have to manipulate, guilt, or drain you. Once you understand this, you realize the key to shutting them down isn't confrontation or argument. It's carefully controlling the channels of access they have to you. Access is often subtle. It can be that friend who constantly complains and demands your emotional labor, the coworker who undermines you quietly in meetings, or even a family member who subtly guilt trips you into compliance. The moment you allow them uninterrupted access, you are inviting them to exercise influence over your thoughts, your mood, and your decisions. They sense hesitation, distraction, or indecision, and they exploit it relentlessly. That's why people often feel trapped in toxic relationships. They are reacting to constant intrusion rather than proactively protecting themselves. The solution is surprisingly simple. Control the flow of access. This doesn't mean burning bridges or overreacting. It means deciding where your energy goes and who earns it. It means selectively engaging and, when necessary, removing yourself from the toxic influence entirely. You start to recognize patterns. Certain people consistently drain you, certain interactions leave you anxious, Certain environments trigger stress. Once you see these patterns clearly, you can enforce boundaries that cut off their access without aggression. Silence, selective attention, and emotional detachment become your tools. When toxic people no longer have access to your energy, their power collapses. They can no longer provoke, manipulate, or control you. You aren't reacting, you are proactive. You aren't vulnerable, you are untouchable. The less access you give, the less they bother you, and eventually they leave entirely because their supply of emotional fuel has dried up. Understanding this dynamic is the cornerstone of reclaiming control over your life and building a personal fortress no one can breach. One of the most powerful lessons in dealing with toxic people is understanding that you do not owe them an explanation. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to justify our choices, apologize for asserting ourselves, and explain our boundaries. We've been taught that keeping the peace or making others comfortable is more important than protecting our own energy. Toxic people exploit this instinct relentlessly. They push, provoke, or guilt trip precisely because they know you feel obligated to explain yourself. The moment you start defending your decisions, they smell weakness. They know they can manipulate the narrative and bend you to their will. The real power comes from silently enforcing your limits without justification. Saying no doesn't require a reason. Choosing to step back from a conversation or interaction doesn't require an apology. You don't need to justify why you won't tolerate disrespect, why you won't answer late-night texts, or why you won't engage in manipulative games. The instant you give explanations, you create an opening for manipulation. Toxic people use your words against you, twisting your reasoning, questioning your motives, or framing your boundaries as overreactions. Every sentence you offer is an opportunity for them to test, prod, and penetrate further. When you remove explanations from the equation, you shift the dynamic entirely. Boundaries are no longer up for negotiation. They are facts. Your energy, time, and attention belong to you, and you don't need to validate that ownership to anyone. A simple, firm statement like, "I'm not engaging in this conversation," or "that behavior isn't acceptable," is enough. The clarity, calmness, and finality in your stance speak louder than pages of justifications ever could. Silence and consistency become your allies. This approach isn't rude or cruel, it's protective. It prevents toxic people from continuing to drain you emotionally and mentally. You stop reacting and start controlling. You reclaim authority over your life, over your energy, and over your peace of mind. By refusing to justify yourself, you cut off their ability to manipulate and assert control. They will test you, but consistent application reinforces your power. Over time, they realize that you cannot be coerced, argued with, or provoked. In essence, no explanation is needed because your boundaries speak for themselves, and once you embrace this principle, toxic people lose interest. They no longer have the leverage they crave. You become untouchable, not through confrontation, but through unwavering self-respect. Confidence is one of the most underestimated tools in shutting down toxic people. Toxic individuals thrive on doubt, hesitation, and insecurity because these are the entry points they use to manipulate and control. When they sense that you are unsure, apologetic, or desperate for approval, they pounce. But the moment you embody genuine confidence, a quiet, unwavering self-assurance, it changes everything. Confidence is contagious, not just in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. It radiates a boundary that doesn't require shouting, arguing, or explaining. It simply exists, and toxic people instinctively pull back. True confidence isn't about arrogance or aggression. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it for anyone. It's the internal understanding that your time, energy, and peace of mind are non-negotiable. Toxic people can sense when someone doubts their own value. They smell hesitation, insecurity, and fear, and they exploit it relentlessly. But when you hold yourself with calm certainty, when your body language, tone, and actions all reflect unwavering self-respect, toxic individuals realize their usual tactics won't work. They can test you, but confidence acts like an invisible shield. They start to hesitate, second guess, and eventually disengage because you no longer react the way they expect. Confidence also shapes your interactions. When you respond calmly but firmly, refuse to be guilted, and maintain your composure even in high pressure situations, you set the standard for how others treat you. You're not aggressive, but you are untouchable. Toxic people don't like that because their attempts to provoke, manipulate, or control no longer produce results. Your self assurance communicates power and authority without a single word. What's remarkable is how contagious this confidence is to those around you. Friends, colleagues, and even bystanders pick up on your energy. They begin to mirror your stance, respecting your boundaries naturally. Meanwhile, the toxic individual finds themselves isolated. They are cut off from the influence they once held over you. Your confidence doesn't just protect you, it alters the dynamics of the entire relationship. In essence, confidence is a silent but powerful weapon. It shuts down manipulation before it begins, deters toxic behaviors, and reinforces the one fundamental truth: you are in control of your life. Toxic people can no longer push, argue, or drain you because confidence leaves no opening. They are forced to retreat. One of the most powerful strategies against toxic people is silent detachment. Toxic individuals feed on emotional reactions. They thrive when you argue, defend yourself, or get upset. Every word, every gesture, every hint of anger or frustration is fuel for their manipulations. The moment you learn to detach silently, you remove that fuel entirely. Silent detachment isn't about ignoring reality or being cold. It's about controlling your reactions and refusing to engage in their games. It's a quiet, strategic withdrawal that communicates more than words ever could. When you detach, you stop reacting emotionally. Toxic people will try their usual tactics: provocations, guilt trips, subtle digs, but you remain calm, composed, and neutral. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their behavior for what it really is: manipulative and ineffective. They cannot provoke you because you are no longer providing them with the leverage they depend on. Every attempt they make to control you or stir conflict falls flat, and over time, they start looking for easier targets. Silent detachment also protects your energy. Engaging with toxic people, even in small doses, drains mental and emotional resources. Arguing or explaining only gives them more reasons to return. By detaching silently, you conserve your energy for people and situations that actually deserve it. You reclaim control over your mood, your thoughts, and your time. The detachment doesn't require confrontation. It simply requires a steadfast refusal to participate in the drama. Another advantage of silent detachment is that it teaches toxic people a lesson without direct conflict. You are not punishing them. You are simply no longer allowing their behavior to affect you. This subtle but undeniable shift changes the dynamic entirely. They begin to see that their usual strategies no longer work, and frustration often drives them to disengage voluntarily. The less they can provoke you, the less interested they become. In essence, silent detachment works because it removes the very thing toxic people crave: your reaction. It turns the tables without aggression, argument, or explanation. It's a quiet, deliberate strategy that protects your peace, reinforces your boundaries, and signals one immutable truth: you are untouchable when you refuse to participate in their toxicity. Consistency is the invisible armor that makes all other strategies against toxic people effective. A boundary, a confident stance, or silent detachment is only powerful if it is maintained consistently. Toxic people are experts at testing limits. They push, provoke, and manipulate precisely to see whether you will flinch or waver. The moment you bend once, even slightly, they interpret it as weakness, an opening to return and assert control again. Consistency is what transforms a one-time action into a permanent shift in dynamics. It's what tells toxic individuals clearly and unmistakably that their usual tactics will no longer work. Being consistent doesn't mean reacting aggressively every time they test you. It means responding in the same firm, calm, and unwavering way each time. If you've set a boundary, it is non-negotiable regardless of excuses, guilt trips, or emotional pressure. If you've chosen silent detachment, you maintain it without exception. When toxic people see that you never waver, they start to realize that the strategy they once relied on is no longer viable. Their frustration grows, their influence diminishes, and eventually they begin to disengage entirely. Consistency also reinforces your own internal strength. Every time you uphold a boundary or maintain detachment, you train yourself to respect your own limits. You stop second guessing, apologizing, or over explaining. Your confidence and self respect are strengthened because your actions match your intentions. Inconsistency, on the other hand, signals doubt, and doubt invites manipulation. A single exception can undo weeks or months of progress, which is why consistency is non negotiable if your goal is lasting freedom from toxic influence. This principle applies across all areas of life, whether it's relationships, work, or family. Toxic individuals will repeatedly test you. Your power comes not from a single confrontation, but from the repeated demonstration that your boundaries are absolute, your detachment is unwavering, and your attention is controlled. Over time, this repetition reshapes the relationship entirely, removing the toxic person's ability to provoke or manipulate you. In essence, consistency is the backbone of all effective strategies. Without it, even the strongest boundaries or the calmest confidence can be broken. With it, one decisive action becomes permanent, one boundary becomes untouchable, and toxic people simply cannot bother you anymore. They learn sooner or later that your limits are absolute. One of the most critical lessons in dealing with toxic people is understanding that engaging in drama only feeds their power. Toxic individuals thrive in chaos. They are drawn to conflict, emotional outbursts, and arguments because these reactions give them control over your mind and energy. The more you respond with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, the more you validate their behavior and encourage them to continue. Drama is their playground, and every reaction you give them is a ticket to keep playing. Avoiding engagement is not about being passive or weak. It's about taking back control of the situation and refusing to participate in their games. When you avoid drama, you remove the fuel that toxic people depend on. They test, provoke, and push boundaries because they want to see how you will react. If you respond with calm, measured behavior, or even better, silent detachment, you deny them the emotional reaction they crave. This silence or neutrality communicates that their manipulations no longer work on you. Toxic individuals quickly notice that their usual tactics are ineffective, and without the emotional supply they seek, they begin to lose interest and disengage. Avoiding drama also protects your mental and emotional health. Engaging in conflicts with toxic people leads to stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. Each argument drains your energy and leaves you feeling vulnerable. By consciously choosing not to participate, you preserve your focus, clarity, and peace of mind. You create an environment in which your boundaries are respected, not because you're forcing respect through confrontation, but because you refuse to give your attention to manipulation. It's important to note that avoiding drama does not mean tolerating abuse or mistreatment. It means responding strategically. You can assert boundaries, enforce consequences, and detach emotionally, all without getting drawn into emotional chaos. The moment you respond calmly and consistently, you shift the dynamic. The toxic person no longer has leverage, the conflict dies down, and your power is restored. In essence, avoiding drama is a silent but potent form of defense. It signals that you are no longer reactive, no longer vulnerable, and no longer a target for manipulation. By refusing to engage in drama, you take control of your energy, your peace, and ultimately, your life. Toxic people thrive on chaos, but when you refuse to play, they are forced to step back, leaving you free, focused, and untouchable. Protecting your energy is the ultimate defense against toxic people, and it's often the principle that separates those who thrive from those who feel drained and overwhelmed. Toxic individuals don't attack randomly. They target your emotional, mental, and even physical energy. Every argument, guilt trip, or manipulation is designed to extract something from you: your time, your focus, your confidence, and your peace of mind. The moment you recognize that your energy is finite and precious, you gain a superpower: the ability to control who and what gets access to it. Protecting your energy means prioritizing yourself, your peace, and your well being above the demands of people who thrive on draining you. This begins with awareness. You have to notice who in your life leaves you feeling anxious, angry, or exhausted. Toxic individuals often create a pattern, repeated behaviors that wear you down over time. Once you recognize these patterns, you can take action to limit exposure, set boundaries, or disengage completely. Protecting your energy isn't about avoidance or fear. It's about deliberate choices that preserve your mental and emotional resources. Every interaction with a toxic person that you approach without boundaries, without detachment, or without confidence diminishes your energy. Conversely, every time you enforce a boundary, stay calm, or detach silently, you protect and even restore your power. Protecting your energy also means being proactive in maintaining environments that support you. Surround yourself with people who uplift, inspire, and respect you. Avoid unnecessary arguments, gossip, or drama that siphon your focus. It's not selfish, it's essential. Your energy fuels your productivity, your creativity, and your happiness. When you allow toxic people to hijack it, they rob you of your life's momentum. Ultimately, protecting your energy is the foundation of freedom from toxicity. Boundaries, confidence, detachment, and consistency all serve this purpose. They are tools to safeguard your most valuable resource. By prioritizing your energy, you reclaim control over your life. Toxic people can push, provoke, and manipulate all they want, but if you guard your energy consistently, their influence becomes negligible. You are no longer a target, you are untouchable. In essence, protecting your energy is not optional, it is survival. Once you embrace this principle, every interaction with toxic people shifts. You remain calm, focused, and resilient. Your life becomes yours to lead, free from the exhaustion and chaos they once imposed.